G'day, how you doing? Adam Williams here from Easy Way Photography. Here we are in the spectacular Karijini National Park. More specifically, we're here at Circular Pool this morning. Absolutely gorgeous, just after sunrise. We're shooting the gorge in complete shadow, which is the way you would shoot these deep gorges, because they don't ever really get that wash of golden light. They either get harsh light or this complete shadow, and complete shadow is the much better light to shoot in. What I wanted to talk about this morning was a little bit about focus. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, we're generally using a wide angle lens for our landscape photography, something around maybe 14 to 25 millimeters. And at those focal ranges, you're going to be setting your lens on infinity 99% of the time, okay? So if you notice when you got your lens set on autofocus, that it keeps winding up on roughly exactly the same spot, where you look over the top here and it ends up close to that infinity symbol, that figure 8 on its side. Most of the time that's where you want it to be. Now there's two reasons why you might vary from that infinity using a wide angle lens in a landscape style photograph. Well, there's probably more, but there's two main ones I can think of. If you wanted to take a backup shot with the focus point directly on your main subject, that's always a good idea, because you can get away with a little bit of soft focus pretty much anywhere else in the frame, as long as that main subject is beautifully sharp and clear. And the second reason is, if you have something really close in your foreground, you can see possibly, if I move out of the way here, down on this edge here, there's a few little plants right in the foreground, okay, and they're only about 1 meter, just under 1 meter from my lens, which is going to be possibly a little bit soft when I'm focused on infinity for the rest of the scene here. So what I might do is take a second shot focused in on the foreground here, much closer, and then I can blend them in Photoshop later, and I'll show you guys how to do that a little bit later in the course, and I'll also run through a more specific focus stacking tutorial a little bit later in this video series as well. But for the time being, for focusing, set your wide angle lens to infinity, and that's going to sort you out most of the time, pretty much 99% of the time. And as I said, if you want to take a backup shot focused directly on the main subject, in this case maybe the waterfall, then go ahead and do that anyway. In this case, the waterfall is probably 5 or 6 or 7 meters away, and that would be infinity focused anyway. All right, so what I might do is just switch over to live view here, and I'm going to zoom right down onto the foreground area. Just here. I'm also going to set my aperture down wide open to the smallest number, in this case aperture F2.4. It just allows me to see that foreground focus a little bit clearer. You'll see it's quite snappy in and out. And there's those reeds sharpening up there. If I look over the top, around about 1.5 meters, it's telling me is a good focus distance. As I come around there to 1 meter, they're starting to get a little bit blurry. So I'll come back to that roughly 1.5 there. Absolutely beautiful. Turning my live view back off, switching back out to my F22, which I'm currently using for landscapes. Now, as I said, we're going to move away from F22 shortly, because it's not the optimum f-stop, but it does make focusing rather easy. Okay, and I'll just fire that off again. I don't have my cable release on the camera, I'm just using a 3-second delay this morning. Okay, and if I zoom in now, I should have a beautifully clear foreground to work with. And we certainly do. So I'll blend that together with the infinity focus shot, and we'll get a beautiful image that's focused all the way from the foreground right through the background. G'day, how you doing? Adam Williams here from Easy Way Photography. Here we are back in Karijini National Park, and it dawned on me after recording the video this morning when I was talking about focusing at infinity that I didn't really explain the easiest way to hit that infinity focus point. Now, as I mentioned, the best place to focus on when using a wide angle lens for landscape photography, when your aperture is set to F22, is either at infinity or focus directly on the subject. I would suggest and recommend for the time being that we focus directly on the main subject, the most important point in the image. That's going to make sure that we get the most keepers out of what we do. Now, this particular location here, I don't really have a main subject. I'm waiting for the sun to go down and the shadows to fade into these gorgeous red cliffs here, so that I don't have that harsh shadow line, but I've got those beautiful glowing red cliffs as the sun goes down. But to get my infinity focus, I need to do a couple of things. Well, number one, I'm shooting with a manual lens. So if you're shooting with an auto lens, you could just focus on something 6 meters or greater away. So this beautiful little lit up tree here to the left would be perfect. So just zoom in, swing your focus point over that tree, pick up focus. And then what I would normally do, once I'm happy that I've picked up focus perfectly, is I switch the lens over to manual focus, which will stop it hunting around or moving around once the light fades. Now with this manual lens, there's a nice little neat trick that I like to do as well, and that is I'm going to swing the camera to live view mode so I can see on the back of the screen here. And what I'm going to do is wind my aperture all the way down to wide open, the lowest number aperture the camera is capable of. Okay, so normally we're shooting at f22. In this case, to grab focus, I like to come down to whatever the lowest number is. On this camera, it is f2.4. That'll let the most light in, give us the clearest picture on what we're focusing on, but it also gives us the narrowest focal plane. Now that's a bit technical, but essentially it gives us the narrowest amount of area in focus, which will allow us to see very snappy, very crispy when that point is in focus. So let me just scroll over here and then zoom into 100%. Okay, and I can see that tree very clearly now. And I just tweak that focus. And that looks absolutely beautiful. Turn live view off. Wind my aperture back out to f22 and we're ready to go. Now, the reason we need to do this with the live view on a manual lens is often a manual lens will have a hard stop where infinity is absolutely perfect, okay? However, that hard stop is not always accurate, okay? So you need to double check by using that live view, okay, and zoom right in. We can even zoom right into the distance here, that'll be fine too. Okay. And just make sure that's absolutely beautiful. That's gorgeous there. Once again, a little bit off the infinity hard point there, but absolutely beautiful. Live view off. Now when I switch back to f22 and fire the shot, that focus point will be exactly perfect because we've checked it and it's all ready to go. Okay, so just to wrap that all together, if you're shooting with autofocus, just choose something 5 or 6 meters away to focus on, lock that down. Once you're happy with that, switch it over to manual focus so it doesn't jump around on you. If you've got a really important, strong subject within your image, focus directly on that and make sure that that is in perfect focus, because whilst we're shooting at f22, the focal plane is so large and so forgiving that you're going to get great shots by just focusing directly on that subject anyway. If you're shooting with manual, I recommend, as I said, go to live view, wind your f-stop all the way down to wide open. That'll let the most light in and will also give you the best view of that focal plane as it moves through the image. Okay, once you've got that done, turn live view off, come back, roll back over to F22 and you're ready to go. I'm going to wait here for the sun to set. Should be a beautiful glow on those cliff tops with any luck. Thanks for watching along. I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.